This might not have been the strongest wide receiver class ever, but there are still a few sleepers that I am definitely interested in this 2025 rookie class for my dynasty leagues. Now, let me start this by saying in my later rounds, most years, and especially this year, considering the running back class and the wide receiver class, I am not taking a lot of receivers late in my draft. In my third, fourth, fifth rounds, I am loading up specifically on running backs and quarterbacks. Those are the two positions I'm really focused on, unless there's a receiver that really sticks out to me as a potential value or a crazy upside player. Reason being, if I get my wide receiver 9 on my team, cool. But when am I going to know when I can play this guy? That's the hardest part about the wide receiver position is any given week, any receiver can go off. That's the beauty of best ball. But in most regular dynasty leagues, it makes it a little bit tricky. Running back, you know if the guy ahead of him is injured and is going to be playing. You know if a quarterback is going to get the start that week. You don't always know when the big weeks for receivers are going to come and when they are not. So that being said, you then factor in this class, not the strongest wide receiver class that we've had, but a very strong running back class. So with that, I think overall you would be most wise to spend a lot of those later picks on the running back position. But if you're not, and if a certain guy falls to you, like the 4 that I'm about to name, I would still be very interested in these players. Let's start off with the 10th pick of the 3rd round, Pat Bryant out of Illinois. He ended up going to the Denver Broncos. And this one was a little bit of a surprise to some people. I actually liked his tape. I thought he was a little bit better on tape than maybe a lot of other people did. But even me, I didn't think he was going to go in the 3rd round. I saw him more as a 5th round type of guy. Him going in the 3rd round here is very, very interesting, partly because his play style is eerily similar to a Courtland Sutton, who could very easily be gone from the Denver Broncos this offseason. You add into the fact that they didn't really add much else in the receiving game. Yes, Evan Ingram was part of the additions this offseason, but that was really it as far as significant movements in that receiving game for the Denver Broncos. Marvin Mims is still going to be part of the equation, but this guy has some nice releases off the line, plays very physical, can go up and get the football. He's not going to offer a lot after the catch, but you don't necessarily need for him to. That's not what Courtland Sutton did either. He's a go up and get it possession receiver, can make the big play, and he has pretty solid hands. So I think you're going to be getting a 3rd round wide receiver. I've seen him go even as late as the late 4th round of your rookie drafts. And at that point, even though he's not a running back, I still think he's a crazy good value and a really good sleeper. This next one's a name a lot of people did not know pre-draft, but with him going in the 3rd round here, Isaac TeSlaa out of Arkansas really rose up the board. He ended up going with the 6th pick of the 3rd round to the Detroit Lions. Now, this is not the clearest landing spot like some of these other ones we're going to discuss. Right now, he is really kind of more in the line of a Jameson Williams type of player, although he kind of plays the power slot a lot in college. So like exactly how he's going to be used is still up in the air, but 3rd round draft capital is nothing to sneeze at. And the Lions have been notorious for taking guys that other people are like, that's too high, or I wouldn't have taken him here. And they end up being really, really talented football players. So definitely going to give them a benefit of the doubt. But a guy at 6'4" moved really, really well. I was surprised how well he moved. And yes, some of his routes are inconsistent, but there were certain times where he would just break DBs off. And I think he's got really solid hands, explosive athlete at the combine. And there's a lot to like here, especially if Jameson Williams ends up moving on. This is a developmental receiver that could end up being a really, really good fit on this team if the smoke clears a little bit. I'm not sure why this guy's falling so far, but Jaylin Noel, another 3rd round pick, 15th pick of the Houston Texans, I'm really, really interested in. Notice so far I've taken all round 3 guys, and you're like, are those really sleepers? Well, most of the day 3 guys, I'm just not really interested in this class. But these guys are still going very late in your rookie drafts. I'm seeing him fall to the late 3rd often, and I just don't understand it. Pre-draft, he was my wide receiver 4 in this class. Really, really fluid mover, crazy game speed. This dude just was able to kick it in high gear, and he was able to run really complicated routes at a very, very high speed, which is just really hard to do. His hands can be a little bit inconsistent at times, but the things that he can do with the ball in his hands, making the big plays, he is going to be in that Tank Dell role in this offense. And we saw when he was healthy, Tank Dell was a high producer for this Houston Texans football team. So I am all in on Jaylin Noel. I do not understand why he's falling with that good draft capital, with the name recognition. I get it. They drafted Jaden Higgins as well. But last year they showed at times where, well, it was very few and far between when all three receivers were healthy. But when all three were healthy, there were guys all being able to eat in this offense. I think he could eat in this offense. I think he's a very talented player. And it's the upside that you're really looking for in this late draft. And so I'm going to take my guy, Jaylin Noel, as a sleeper. So it's interesting. I mentioned sleepers. Usually you think day three guys. I actually don't have a single day three guy at receiver in this draft, partly because, well, usually day three receivers aren't very good. You have the few and far between that do end up hitting, but there's enough falling down in this draft in the third round to make these guys sleepers. But I also, with my last one, skipped all the way to the end. Not a fourth, not a fifth, not a sixth, not even a seventh rounder. Skip to a UDFA. And that's Mr. Xavier Restrepo. Now, no, I know what the comments are going to say, but he's so slow. He came out and talked about the injury that he had sustained. He did it right before. I still think he's probably a 4.6 guy, but he's not a 4.85 guy. You can watch the film. He is not that slow. He is getting open very consistently, runs really good routes. And honestly, I think he has some of the best hands in the class. Only 2 drops despite all of those targets. And he also made some really nice acrobatic catches. So for me, Xavier Restrepo is a very nice player that shouldn't have gone undrafted. But when you factor in the landing spot, I think that's the big thing for me. One, he ends up back with Cam Ward, which obviously, if you can go back to your college quarterback, that's huge. Secondly, it's to the Tennessee Titans. Right now, the Tennessee Titans have one of the most wide open wide receiver rooms long term. Yes, short term, you got Tyler Lockett and Calvin Ridley, some real old dudes. But other than that, there's nobody of consequence there. So Xavier Restrepo has an opportunity to go an Adam Thielen type route and just work hard, put his head down, and make plays. He's been doing it his entire career. He's been under-recruited his entire career. And if there's one player that I would want to bet on as a UDFA, it would be a guy like Xavier Restrepo. All right, guys. I know that there's some of you probably screaming some day three names. So who were the guys that you had as late round sleepers in your rookie drafts?